I haven't made nearly enough paint. Okay, but I've got to act fairly fast with this whole thing. So this is not going to be done and left. We've got to work with this quite fast. So just coming in through here. I'm going to have to come over with a second layer. I know that. I'm going to come through. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. Could you move your picture over to the right a little bit, please?
The picture?
The painting.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. That's better.
Yeah, dear, I don't know. I do my best. And oh, good. Anyway, yeah, so bring this down. And the only reason I'm avoiding this because I want that red to be as pure as I can. Okay, so the first wash is lavender with just a touch of yellow ochre to grey it out. I've left the centre because I didn't want that corrupted with a blue colour, because of course that's where the lovely red breast of the robin is going to be. Now I decided to lift out with a tissue and keep changing the end of that to try and create snowflakes. In principle, that method is absolutely fine. However, I realized that the background was way too light for the job, and I had to come in with a second layer, and then I had to lift once more. But I'd lost my white paper, of course. I've got a lavender color under there, so it's not as a strong lift off as it might have been. My second mistake was doing it in two halves. I felt that the top half would have dried way before I got the rest of this in, so I decided to do it in two parts. That was a mistake because my mix was different, and you can see the problem I'm having lifting off at this stage. Right, okay, so we are pretty much done with that now, and I'm going to come back in with a small brush, and I'm going to start looking at our robin itself. So immediately I want to get in some of the blue value colors, and I have gone a little bit over here. That should have been red, and I see that that's gone. So what I might just do is tease that space, just gently use a brush to tease the area, and a clean bit of tissue. Okay, so while I start laying in the first layers of this robin, and mainly that is just warm and cool values of lavender and umbers, I want to take a few minutes just to talk to you about what's happening on a new platform for me, and that is school.com. I recently launched a free school for anybody to join and anybody to become a part of. It doesn't cost you anything, as I said. And there you'll see all of my videos that have been on YouTube and other short videos, all ad-free. But on top of that, there is a fantastic community of other artists who, just like you, are learning to paint and draw, and some recently just started and others have been painting for a long time. But there's something in there to help everybody. So in addition to the free school that I've made available to anybody who wants to join it, I have also launched Paul's Wildlife Art School. Now this is a school that you'll have to pay for, but the fees per month are tiny. They're only $15 a month, and if you want to save even more, up to 17%, you can pay $150 for a year. But this school is very special. For the longest of times, I've wanted to bring all of my tutorials, both wildlife and landscape, and in all medias, together under one roof, and this new school has allowed me to do that. And what is on offer? Well, you've got all of my full-length videos. They're being added to as I can get them uploaded for you to enjoy. On top of that, you have a growing and very interactive community of like-minded artists, all willing to share, showcase their work, and get involved and help each other out. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so on top of all of that, I'm also going to be doing a weekly live Zoom demonstration for you all. Now the subject will alter between landscape and wildlife, maybe a few more wildlife pieces than landscape, who knows, but also the medium will also change from one session to another, or indeed if it's a lengthy one like an oil, maybe it may run 2 or 3 sessions before it alters to something else. but essentially there is so much there to enjoy, so much more to get involved with. And as I've already said, you can paint along with, you can ask questions in real time and get answers in real time from me. So yeah, I think it's really an excellent way to go. For me personally, I am going to enjoy helping and interacting with all of you who are members in the future, and seeing how I can really bring on your creativity and understanding and help you make better wildlife and landscape paintings moving forward. So enough of the plug. I just wanted to share that with you and get that on record, so that if you want to get involved, you can do, and you can learn right from the get-go. And as I say, it's only going to be, for all of that, it's only going to be $15 a month, and you're locked in as long as you want to be. In other words, if the price goes up, you will only ever pay $15. So have a look at it. If you want to get involved, click the link, join up, and I look forward to seeing you within the school. Take care. I'm really sort of at a point where I've thrown in the towel on this painting. And I don't normally give up. Keep looking at it. I dare not do any more to it, because I think it's just overdone. There's just too much paint on the surface. And the essence of watercolor is such that you should allow the white paper to glow through. That's the transparency. And this has so lost that transparency. This has become more like a gouache. I mean, I could repair this in a heartbeat if I changed to gouache right now, and I could have a whole different thing going on. But that's not what this was about. This was about a watercolor, and if it just hasn't worked out. So anyway, have a good one, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next week as part of the group then. And in the meantime, stay safe. Happy painting. Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back. Now, last night I had pretty much written this painting off at the end of my last Patreon stream, and I then sort of looked at it this morning, and I sort of felt a little bit bad about that, because I always advocate that there are no failures. There are merely stepping stones onto the next painting. And often or not, if you take a long look at something, there are certain ways you can redeem yourself or redeem the painting and bring it back from the brink of disaster. Now, last night I didn't quite see that, and I had, as I say, pretty much written this off. But I've looked at it this morning, and I'm thinking how I might be able to bring this one back and create a phoenix out of the hotbed of ashes that it left itself in last night. So I'm going to see what I can do, and hopefully I'll be able to display this video for you to see and enjoy and learn from. And that's the whole idea of all my tutorials, is to learn from. So this is no exception. So we'll see how we get on. So first and foremost, I really want to spray the whole of this, and I want to see if I can work out and get rid of some of that line there. So first things first then, in the recovery of this lovely robin picture, or at least I hope it will be, is to wet the surface. So I sprayed the entire surface. Now, although there is a painting there already, by spraying it now, having dried it first, it's almost like spraying up a fresh piece of watercolor paper, so long as I don't disturb it too much. That said, what I'm doing is disturbing the dampened paper to create areas that I can just lift off and take the color even further back to the white. I'm not going to get back to white paper, but at least I can actually lighten some of the contrast and increase the contrast coming back in with future colors that I lay in at some point. And the whole of the process at the moment is almost damage limitation. I am going around it, seeing where I need to lift some of that color off. I'm also trying to create a situation where none of the color lifted is just around the bird. I'm going off into the background so it doesn't look as though I've just gone round the shape of the bird. That would look awful and is never a good thing to do. So yeah, just plan it out and keep doing until you're ready to continue and put back in the color. So I think that is as much as I want to do on this at the moment. Do I need to lift any of this out on the back of the bird? Maybe a little area or two would help, just to alleviate the darks. That's the one thing about watercolor that, or on this one, that I wasn't too pleased about, because certain amount of radiance of the paper underneath should come through the work you're doing. And to all intents and purposes, that's what I was really unhappy about, because I had lost that beautiful look to a watercolor that suggests that that white paper is still there. It's radiating through the pigments that I put on, so it really was for me quite important, and I felt that I'd lost that. Okay, but from that point of view, I think we're almost done. I think with all the work that I've done on this to recover it, I think I'm pretty much done with that part of the painting. I've refined areas, I've come back in with certain colours to reinstate those that have been lost, and also to reinvigorate by increasing some of the dark values over the whole painting, not just the bird, but also on the trees and the branches, just increasing the overall sense of contrast. And I think that was what was lacking. So being able to come back in now and develop those darks and lights to a greater degree is going to be the thing that actually saves this painting. It was looking too flat, too ordinary, and when you squinted down, you lost so much detail. But being able to come back in, as I say, and increase the depth and the contrast is really what's working for me now. Sort of looked at this overnight. I really am pleased that I just did not destroy it or consign it to the bin. That would have been very, very counterproductive, and it would also be against everything that I teach people. And I just felt that it wasn't going well, and I felt that I could do better. But I'm so glad that I listened to a few people, my wife included, and listened to myself, my own heart of hearts, and decided that actually this still had a ways to go before it ever goes to the bin. So I'm quite happy with what we've got there now. We've got this beautiful light and dark happening on our tree, or at least on the branches. So just a few final darks around the tail of the bird, and that will be pretty much it from this point of view. And I've now got to decide what I'm going to do next to carry on and make this painting work out. Okay, so this is pretty much dried out now, and I'm happy to continue on, but this is the bit that I've been most unsure about. Do I play around with some gouache on this to try and suggest more of the snow, and maybe even go as far as putting a few extra white dots on to suggest even more snowflakes closer to the bird itself? These indicate, in my opinion, snowfall in the distance, that little bokeh type effect. And I'm hoping that if I put anything else on there in the form of an opaque gouache, I do stand the chance of wrecking what I've got. So I'm hesitant, but I think I'm going to go for it, because I did say to the guys last night that it would be a very Christmassy twist. And although I feel that I've got quite a bit of a wintry feel to this, I still need that little bit of extra snow. So wish me luck. Let's just see what happens. So I've got some gouache out on the palette, and I'm using a fairly small number 5. I think it's the number 5. Yeah, number 5 brush. And I'm going to go into this. I think I've said this before, but here goes nothing. The snow is being added with white opaque gouache, and I'm not putting a smooth line on. So many people, when they put snow on branches and things like this, they do this smooth outline. But if you look at the way snow falls, it collects upon itself. In other words, over a period of time, there's nothing, a little bit there, and more and more and more collects. So I think the outer edges that you see is fragmented. So small taps of the brush will suggest the snow, I feel, in a much more realistic way, and that's the idea. And I'm thinking about all the certain planes that it may collect, not going lower than certain areas, but overall I think the effect of building snow is working out quite nicely. Okay, whilst that is drying, whilst I evaluate the look of that, do I now come back in with a few taps of snowflake closer to the bird? I thought this part was risky. Maybe this part will be just one brush mark too many. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to go for it, because 24 hours ago, or a lot less than that, this was a dead in the water picture. So I've got nothing to lose. So I'm just going to come in, I'm going to try and put in a few taps of marks. Now I don't want them to be absolutely round, but I just want them to be different sizes, I think. Now these will, as I've said before, because the color is not pure white, they're going to fade off. So in a sense, you could perhaps lift them off if they are not looking good. But equally, you can reinforce them or change their shape. If you got them, you like them, but they're not quite where you want them to be. I'm going to put in maybe this one across the bird here. Okay, so I'm now adding all those lovely snowflakes. Some of them are behind the bird, some of them come across the front of the bird, equally so the branches. And with the addition of all that irregular shape and pattern in the background as a diffused pattern that suggests other snowflakes in the distance or even snow on branches in the background, I think this affects very, very well. I wasn't sure about it, but I think it really works well. Now additionally, I'm not making them all the same size, and I'm trying hard not to create a wallpaper step and repeat pattern. It's something that humans do very easily, so try and steer clear of patterns. But if also some of the paint will fade, go over them again and actually add more pigment to those so they really would stand out. I think it's worked out very, very well. Okay everybody, well, one robin that's now complete, and from the depths of disaster it rose to the, is it the phoenix rises from the ashes? It was exactly that. I had written this off yesterday evening, and I am so pleased that I didn't consign it to the bin. I am so pleased that I listened to a few people's suggestions and acted upon those and looked at it in the cool light of day, which is what you should do maybe. And instead of just writing it off, I give it another go. And I say, I am so pleased that I did. It has worked out well. It has worked out so much better than I had ever expected. And I think overall the lesson that you take away from this whole demonstration is that even for me, even when it goes very, very wrong for you, is to just dig in, don't give up, and see in the cool light of day where you can take it, what you might be able to do to recover the situation. And hopefully, like this one, you can recover it and you can end up with a picture that you're proud of. And this one may make my Christmas card list yet to date. So in the meantime, I'm going to wish each and every one of you happy painting, stay safe wherever you are, and yeah, if you get into difficulties like this one was, stay with it, keep going, don't write it off. It's not a failure, it is merely a stepping stone to the next painting, and you will have learned an awful lot by the process of staying with it. Goes through the ugly stage every time in pretty much every painting. Just work through and get to the other side. I know I was very nearly not a good advocate of that, but I did it anyway, and I stay true to my teaching of you guys, and this is where we ended up. So